in Media. We're a bunch of working women who volunteer our time to be change agents for women. We're passionate about positive reinforcement, empowering, equipping, inspiring women in media. We're a not-for-profit with a board of directors funded by generous sponsors like Bond University and the Trade Desk, and we're really appreciative of their support, particularly through this really tough time. I'd also like to give a shout out to Sky Ruggles and Jo Sanders, who are our Women in Media New South Wales committee members, and they've actually been running this initiative nationally for all of us. So we're really, really lucky to have them, and they are working hard to bring free regular events online during these unprecedented times. I'm sure you're not sick of that. And we're really, really lucky to have so many volunteers around the country. So thanks to all our volunteers who are also on here. Now, I'm really excited about tonight's event. I'm amazed that Danny is going to share all her secrets, although it shouldn't be surprising because she is very generous with her wealth of knowledge. So much so, I think I've always been jealous of anyone who had Danny as a boss or a mentor. Danny and I have been on the Women in Media Queensland committee together, which Snits is now the convener of, who's on tonight. And despite working for rival news organisations back when we joined in 2014, you know how that makes you really not want to like someone because, you know, they're the competition. As you discover, Danny, you just can't not love Danny. So she's super intelligent, organised, as you'll find out tonight, full of integrity, kind, and has a work ethic that would kill most. She's our national digital convener and serves on the Women in Media Australia board. She single-handedly built our Women in Media website because, you know, editing a cracking news website doesn't keep you busy enough. And she's always on top of the latest IBIS memes. She loves bin chickens. I don't know, don't ask me. I don't get it, but, you know, we can ask her in chat. Feel free to add your questions in chat as we go along. I'll monitor that. And look, Danny's really humble, so she'd love me to just mention a line to introduce her, but I think it's really important that you hear a bit of her background. She's the first female editor of metropolitan masthead, the Brisbane Times. The award-winning journalist has worked in Brisbane, Bundaberg, Africa, and Canberra. She's covered 10 federal budgets, 3 federal elections. You get less for murder, Danny.
It's true, it's true.
A reporter for the Canberra Times. She spent 7 years in the Federal Press Gallery reporting on stories ranging from the coup that ended Kevin Rudd's career, as well as, oh, well, not career, I should say prime ministership, because he is coming back to radio, as we know, to the Canberra firestorm, which was recognised with the Walkley Award. She's also worked in South Africa as the inaugural winner of the Independent Newspapers Fellowship for Australia and travelled to Germany as the winner of the German Prize for Journalism. After a long career in newspapers, Danny joined the digital revolution. She's keenly interested in pushing the boundaries of storytelling in innovative ways to build online communities, including through the use of social media. So we're super lucky to have her here at WiM. And last year, she was named one of the inaugural Columbia University Google News Initiative Fellows to the Asia Pacific, did lots of travelling at the end of last year, which we were all desperately keeping on top of, everything that she learned when she travelled to New York and around the world. But of course, COVID put a bit of a stop to that continuing at the beginning of this year, which was a bummer. But welcome to our new normal. There's another one. So please welcome the absolutely fabulous Danny Cronin. Thanks, Danny.
Oh, Kath, thank you for that super generous intro. It's really, really great to be here. And it's a treat to share with you some of my favourite tips and tools. So I'll just share my screen so we can get cracking. Where is it? Now. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes, I can. Wow, that's some amount of tabs.
Yeah, I've actually closed this so I don't get it wrong while I'm talking to you. What I'm going to share is some of my favourite tips and tools, and it's of varying levels of complexity, but they all are free. Going to be like a series of entrees, so if you're really hungry for more, please ask a question in the chat or catch up with me afterwards. I'll send it at the end. I'll put up my Twitter and Facebook handles so you can contact me directly, and the wonderful Bytes team of Sky and Jo will share this presentation after. I really hope it'll be a super lively session and interactive. So if the participants have a tool that they want to share with the group, please feel free to do it. Okay, let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure that you can relate to this feeling of being bombarded with information, you know, email, pop-up messages. Sorry, there's a Chris that's talking. Sorry. Bombarded with emails, instant messages, pop-up notifications and whatnot. And I thought one of the best ways to decide what is important is this super simple, the Eisenhower decision matrix. So, you know, what's deemed urgent is not always important. What's deemed not important is sometimes urgent. So this is a really cool way to work out whether you should do something now or it should just go straight to the bin. And I think it's applicable to when you're handling emails. So this is a visual representation of how I see email. But that said, at the end of each day, I manage to get my inbox to no new emails. And I do that in a range of ways, but I'll just share 3 of my favourite tips. So firstly, create filters. For the things that aren't urgent and important, you can create a filter and send your emails to folders instead of your inbox. The other thing that I do is I create bespoke folders. So, for instance, you might have something that you need to deal with within a certain time frame, but you can get it out of your inbox by creating folders for today, this week, this month. And I also have a string of ones to deal with. So that's divided by tasks. So it might be like op-eds that I get as submissions and I want to review, but I don't want to leave them in my inbox. And so I move them in there. Then when I carve out time, I have time to go through them. And finally, going a little bit old school, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty obsessed with subscribing to newsletters to the point that I've had to put myself in abeyance. But some of them, instead of being an email newsletter, you can actually subscribe via an RSS feed. If you're not familiar with what that is, it just stands for a really simple syndication. And all you need to read the RSS feed of, instead of subscribing to an email newsletter, is one of these readers. And I thought I'd take you through an example of how I use this. So Google Alerts. If you're not familiar with Google Alerts, they're really great ways to monitor the web for mentions of specific terms. So it could be, say, like there's a breaking news situation, you want to know what's being published about that, or maybe you have a client and you want to know what people are posting about your client. So you can set these up and you receive an email as it happens. You can decide actually if you want to receive it as it happens, once a day, once a week. You can also set them the content of these email alerts. So you might just want only the best results, or you might want all the results, and then that comes into your inbox, thus exacerbating the clogging issue. So what you can do is, if you can see on the screen, there's like receive this alert via an RSS feed. You click on that, it gives you a URL. You take that URL and you post it, you publish it in your RSS feeder, such as NetVibes. NetVibes has a big green circle with a plus sign, so it's super simple to add. And then everything that would come through via email then comes through there and thus keeps it out of your inbox. And then all you need to do as a final step is create a filter. So send all those emails to the bin and archive. So it's a really great way to get across a lot of information in the shortest amount of time without making that information overload feel a bit like you're being bombarded. I'm sure you can all relate to this one as well, like it's not a foreign concept. So here are a few ideas about how to streamline this process. Visualping is one of my favourite media website monitoring platforms. It's a tool that allows you to monitor changes to websites. It also users receive an email when changes are detected. And how it works is it takes a screenshot of the page, It waits 5 minutes or 1 day, however you set it. It then takes another screenshot, it compares them, and it notifies you if anything has changed. So these are great for websites that you might want to keep in the, like, they're not the vital websites that you look at every day, but there might be something like, say you want to know if the Queensland government has posted new data and you want to have a look, or say you want to know if a particular digital bulletin board's got some new posts. So you can use this, and the free version allows you for 2 pages per day. So what I would suggest is, if you are interested in using it, maybe start off with the free account, see how it works for you, and then look at it further. If you wanted to have an even stronger tool, if this then that is fantastic. There are so many options in here that time won't allow me to go through every single one. But what it does, it allows you to automate and monitor things on the web by creating what they call applets. They used to call them recipes, which I think was a better term, but anyway. And you can automate certain postings, like, you know, social or WordPress, for instance, and you can use it as a monitoring tool as well. So I just want to take you through a couple of examples of how I've used it. So what I did was I set up an applet to create a line in a spreadsheet with all the tweets using the National Conference hashtag. I also created a line in a spreadsheet with any Instagram post using a particular hashtag or handle. And I've also one that I receive an email featuring a new post on a particular Reddit stream that I want to look at what people are talking about. And anyone who's run an event So anyone who's run an event, or, you know, has to do media monitoring for a client, or whatever your purpose is, this is a really good way to stop having to do that massive scroll through every single tweet or every single post, and it just neatly collates it all into one spreadsheet, and then you can refer it to for later use. And the other one that is a great media monitoring tool is CrowdTangle. Now this is a Facebook tool, and why I like it is because it allows you to sort of measure the success of your posts, like ones that perform better than others. It also allows you to compare your performance with your competitors, and you can also quickly see what the top posts are on Facebook, you know, whether you want to measure it by geographical area, or you want to collate like a group of, you know, media sites that you want to monitor, like, you know, local TV, radio, whatnot, and that helps you discover the top posts. And while we're on the topic of social media, it can be super confusing because there's always a new tool to try. You know, there's tools that do similar things, and some are free and some are paid. And I think you can probably get by with just 3 tools. So the first one is Tweetdeck. Now, what's great about Tweetdeck is there's a few things that it does beyond the normal Twitter platform. So you can in one screen, you can monitor the people you follow. You can add your lists that you've created. Lists are a great way to monitor particular topics. You can look at mentions. You get direct messages in one place. The other thing that's really handy is if something is actually like breaking or becoming a topic of conversation, you can quickly search via hashtag or via username or whatever, and you get like a nice column that it all collates it there so you can see it in real time. The other upside of it as well is it allows you to monitor, manage multiple Twitter accounts. So, for instance, my Tweetdeck has obviously my personal Twitter, Brisbane Times, Women in Media Australia, Women in Media Queensland. And all you need to do is you can actually post from the one platform. You don't have to go through that rigmarole of logging out of your personal account and then logging into your professional, like your Masthead account or your other social account. You can also set up teams where you can invite people to be part of it, but you don't have to like share passwords. And it's a great tool to schedule tweets because, you know, a great thing about social is working out when your particular followers are online, and then you can tailor when you post to reach the maximum number of people. But if you want to take it to the next level, Hootsuite is really powerful because it allows you to schedule not only Facebook and Twitter, but also Instagram, which is pretty tricky to do without it. And it also gives you a really nice overview of like your week in social, I guess, because you can see what's been posted. You can even, if you want to, I'm not a fan of this, but some people might want to post the same thing on all 3 platforms, which you can easily do with Hootsuite. And like I said, I use it to schedule posts on those 3 platforms. So the free account will give you the 3, which is, you know, a good place to start. But there's other options you can choose. I just choose those 3. And the final one is Bitly of the 3 tools. And what I like about Bitly is it's a really good, easy way to shorten unwieldy URLs so you can share articles. But it also gives you some really great insights into how your posts go. So you can have a look, for instance, on how many people clicked on the link, where they came from. Did they discover the link via your email or via a Twitter post or SMS and whatnot? And and you can also see where the readers have come from. So, you know, geographical location. Is it mostly being seen by people in Australia or mostly by the US? So all of that is in the one platform, which is, you know, obviously all the social media accounts have their own metrics, but this is a good way to see the reach that you're having with your particular post. Now, I've put the links in the bottom of this, so when you see the presentation, you can have a look at it. Like, we've all had those times where we've shared something on Facebook or shared it on Twitter and go, oh my God, that is a super bad crop, but we want a good crop. You know, or there's a typo in the headline, or there's a word missing, or something of that ilk. Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn have what I call social scrapers, which they pitch to developers, but you can all use. So, for instance, say you've posted something on Facebook, you say, oh my God, I missed a letter, my crop is rubbish. You can go back to the article, you can fix your crop, and then you can put them through these scrapers, and then it'll just basically strip what you've got and it'll create the new image that appears on social across all platforms. So it's a really good way to, you know, if you have posted something and it's not like one that you would take down for legal or other reasons, you can quickly fix crop or minor typo or something like that. And if you want to avoid the place in the first place, one that I recommend is Grammarly. So Grammarly is a free online writing assistant, and it's great to make sure that when you're putting together your posts on Twitter, it will actually check it for spelling and grammar and point out any issues with the copy. But the other thing, it also works with email, and it's quite cool because there's a new thing I've been testing called the tone detector. So it'll tell you when you put together an email whether you're like angry or optimistic or friendly or formal. So it might just give you some indication that perhaps you didn't want to be that angry when you emailed the boss. And the next set are probably I would describe as tools that you can use to elevate your work without having to be an expert in coding or graphic design or SEO, which I'm sure you're aware, but just in case you're not, SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And in a nutshell, it means giving your whatever you're putting on the internet, giving it the best chance of being discovered when people search Google. Now on SEO, a lot of people have experts or access to consultants who do this SEO work, but for most of us, that's not possible. So a good way to kind of work out what might work in search is what they call Google Trends. So I did a little experiment before tonight, and I just compared search terms. So I compared women in media, Media Women and WiM. And I confess, I actually thought Women in Media would be receive more search traffic, but when I looked at the results, I realised it's WiM, which is interesting. And how you can use that then is when you're posting something, you can think about that when you're writing your headline or when you're writing, you know, the little SEO headline for copy. It's also a very cool way to discover topics that are trending. One of my favorite stories that stems from Google Trends is there's a city in America, and they looked at what people were searching, and they discovered that few people could actually spell the name of the town. So kind of fun. The next one I want to share is Infogram. If you haven't used this is a really quick way to make data visualizations that look amazing without having to be an expert in coding, or even, you know, all you need to do is put in the clean data and it will create these visualizations. And it's everything from heat maps to tables to bubble charts. You know, there's so many different options. Word clouds, if that floats your boat. You can do those really cool things where you have like scale, so you can have like a big human and a small human to show the difference, or like lines of humans to show things. But anyway, have a go. And these are super easy to embed and share. And like, it's not just for, I just want to make clear that all of this stuff is translatable for any form of media. It doesn't have to just be a story. You know, it might be a report that you want to do something that's cool, through to a presentation, and they look really great, and you can set colors and do all that stuff. I'm sure most of you have heard of Canva. So Canva makes even makes a graphic design, is for graphic designing for amateurs. And I think one of the tricks of standing out on the internet is having compelling images, and you don't always have them. So you can use this to create quite cool graphics, or, you know, slides, or you can use it for photos with like 3 or 4 photos. So they have like range of templates, and they add new ones all the time. I think they just recently added TikTok, but you've got everything from Instagram to resumes, newsletters, Facebook banners, business cards. Yeah, they're all in there. And the good thing about it is it's mostly free, and if you ever want to buy anything, it's super inexpensive to buy particular things. And the other upside is it's available on desktop and mobile. So one of the upsides of that is, you know, for instance, you might create an Instagram story in Canva, and then you have to go through the rigmarole of, you know, downloading it, emailing it to yourself, downloading it on your mobile, and then posting it on Instagram. But when you've got it on the desktop and the mobile, you just take your design straight from the mobile and upload it onto Instagram. And if you are a fan of Instagram stories, this is a really fine one to take your stories to the next level. It's called Story Art, and it's a mobile phone app, and it has a range of templates that are available for free. So there's everything, and it's organised around themes. So, you know, there's minimalistic, floral, animated, whole range of themes, and you can just quickly create highlight covers or Instagram stories, and they look great. And if you're looking for something that's even more interesting, the Night Lab, which is a US lab, they offer all these things open access. I've used a few of them. Juxtapose is pretty cool. That creates those before and after shots, like slider photos that you see often on like stories about floods or disasters. But, you know, you could equally do it for stories about property development or whatnot. The other one that I've used as well is Timeline, which creates a very graphic.
Yeah.
Hey. It creates a very graphic timeline that you can embed on your website and or on your article, and it takes you through a story as it progresses. But it has another cool things that you can try as well. If you want to embed audio in line, they have an option for that. Virtual reality stories, and then there's a story map and a storyline. So they're really fun, and you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of tinkering, but the results are really great. So the next thing, I guess I would describe these as super simple ways to save time and complete complicated tasks. So after a very, very long search for a to-do list that I liked, this is my favourite. It's called Todoist. It is a to-do list and a task manager, which you can organise things by folder, by importance. You can set deadlines on things, but it does a lot more than just that. So if you download the Chrome extension for Todoist, you can actually right-click on articles or a page, and it automatically adds it to the list and allows you to review it later. So you might come across an article that you really want to read. You don't want to have to like copy it and then email it to yourself. You can just right-click and add it there, and it sits there. The thing that I like too is that while you can use it on desktop, it reflects exactly the same on mobile, and it's replaced a thing I used to do, wake up 3 a.m., had a great idea, wrote it on a notebook, woke up in the morning going, what the hell did I write? I can't even read that. So in this way, I can just put it there. It's on my mobile. It's also on the desktop that I can look at it later. And yeah, I can read it, which is really handy. The Great Suspender, I don't know if you've come across this one, but as Kath mentioned at the outset, I had a few tabs open. I normally have about 20 or so open. So the Great Suspender is, you use it in Google Chrome, and what it does is when you've got unused tabs, it just suspends them basically, and it makes your computer run more smoothly. If you've got a tab that's suspended, you just go back to it, you just right-click on it, you just press the refresh button, and it pops back up. So it saves like the drain on your computer while you're working on multiple tabs. And also, if you do have ones that you want to keep open and you don't want suspended, it allows the option to whitelist URLs and domains so that they're not part of that suspender. Nimbus Capture. Screen captures can be quite tricky, and you have to sometimes run them through Photoshop. You get a print screen, you get Photoshop. Nimbus Capture is fantastic to streamline that. So you can do everything from a full page to a selected area to a video. There's heaps of options, and it also, you can annotate screen grabs, which is super helpful. Like you can add text, arrows, you can circle a particular thing that you want to highlight, and then it all does that in one fell swoop, and then you can download it as is. It's also one that you use in Google Chrome. The other one that I wanted to share with you, unless you've got like mad Photoshop skills, deep etching can be super time consuming. It can also be tricky to get a great result unless you use it all the time. So Remove BNG is a godsend for people who, like me, have basic Photoshop skills and have probably bigger ambitions than the skills allow. So I'll just explain to you how this works. So here's a photo from one of our Canberra photographers of Scott Morrison. So I downloaded that photo, I uploaded it into Remove BNG, and then I was left with this, remove the background. So why that is handy is, say for instance you wanted to create an image with a different background. You've then got a deep etched photo of Scott Morrison that you can put the different background on. The other thing that's useful too, like say you've got a headshot, you like the headshot but you think the background's dodgy, you can remove it and just have like a crisp white background on your headshot. The other thing that's quite cool about it as well is, say for instance it went through this process and it cut off one of the Prime Minister's ears, you can actually reinstate the bits that are missing and get a good result. But I must say I rarely actually have to do that. And this is Toby. I joke with my breaking news reporter, Toby Crockford, that this is my favourite Toby. And this is something that saves me probably about 15 minutes every morning when I log on to the computer. I used to have to open 20 tabs and, you know, go into all my bookmarks and grab them and open them. But this replaces bookmarks. What it does is it creates, in one click, you can open multiple tabs. And it also uses Google Chrome. But I'll just show you what mine looks like. So this is like part of my screen. So you've got like good morning. So this is like 13 odd tabs, which I open every morning to kickstart my day. So all I need, instead of going into all the bookmarks and whatnot, I can just click on open 13 tabs and it'll just open them all together. And similarly, so on and so forth for all those other areas. So it might save me 15 minutes in the morning, but it probably saves me, you know, more than an hour through the week. So it's simple to use. You can just go onto Toby, create what they call a collection, which is like the good morning part. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, whatever tabs you have open, so like, you know, say Brisbane Times, Tweetdeck, it'll all appear there, and you just drag them into the collection and then they sit there. And if you log in, no matter what computer you work on, you can actually log in and still have access to those things. And if you're in, I discovered Toby through this great weekly newsletter called Try This by the Pointer Institute. It says tools for journalists, but I think that kind of it's not just for journalists. There's a lot of great tools in there for anyone who's interested in media or even beyond that. It arrives every Tuesday normally, sometimes Wednesday, and it has like a tip that they think you might want to try. So it's a good way to get a simple digest of what's new and what might be interesting or useful to you. And the one that I quite like is Gather. If you're involved in any way in audience development or audience engagement, Gather is a really great, thriving online community that is sort of a one-stop shop for all that stuff, plus social and all those other elements. And it's a really good way to, in a very short amount of time, get across some of the best things that are happening in terms of audience development and audience engagement around the world. So as Kath mentioned, you know, I just, end of the financial year, I actually just finished a fellowship that was through the Google News Initiative and Columbia Journalism School. And one of the things that it really highlighted was about innovation and exploring and how to have an explorer mindset. So I just thought I'd finish off by sharing like a Cliff's Notes to some of those elements, which I guess finding the right tool is part of the exploration. So I just want you to take a sec to have a look at these equations and sort of which one of them stands out. Give me a couple seconds. Okay, so if you thought you immediately identified that one of those equations is wrong, you're not alone. It's kind of, I guess, part of our trade, but it's also what they described as, this is a Google Chief Innovation Evangelist. He sort of was talking about how we're wired to identify mistakes, and he calls it negative bias, which is, you know, obviously fantastic for survival, but it's not so great for innovation. And he says that everyone is capable of dreaming up great ideas, and creativity exists in all of us, but capturing that innate creativity and innovation requires training our minds to think and act in new ways despite our unconscious avoidance of negative outcomes. he points out that that free from practical constraints, children let their imaginations run wild and dare to wonder. You know, they ask the question, what if? Like, what if this stick was actually a sword? What if this carpet was actually lava? So on and so forth. So a couple of tips to have the explorer mindset is nurture that childlike mindset and ask what if. Like, the wildest questions can create the biggest opportunities. And the answer may challenge a long-held view on how to do things, but a negative bias might kick in where people tell you why it won't work rather than how it could work. But by nurturing that mindset, it sort of creates that innovative space where people feel free to give ideas. Great solutions start with exploring how users experience the world and developing empathy for their needs. Routinely, it's the other way around. Like, there's that light bulb moment, a team beavers away and creates this amazing thing, and then it presents its genius idea to the users, and no one uses it. And I guess why? It's because it doesn't meet a compelling need of a user. Also, to experiment. Once you understand the need, you can experiment. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, we can learn something important from experiments that don't work. And nurture your inner brave penguin. So, you know, the penguins are all sitting on the ice shelf. The first one jumps in, not sure whether they're going to get they don't know what's underneath them. They don't know whether they'll get a morsel of fish or there's a killer whale waiting. So they're taking the risk. And that should be acknowledged, because sometimes we learn the most from things that don't quite work out. And if we just always celebrate success, no one ever wants to have a go at things. And that is the end.
Fantastic, Danny. That was great. I love the penguin stuff. There always had to be the first brave penguin. And it also goes a lot to what we talk about a lot at the national conference, is that, you know, failing isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's where we learn a lot of stuff. Look, Danny, before we go on to other questions, and I know people will probably start putting